Welcome back everybody to Formula 1 Weekly. It's been ages, and that's not even an exaggeration, it has. It's been ages since the last episode. That's on me. I've been so busy, I've been away on holidays, and then this week I was going to do it on Monday, but we've had all the drama of all the new designs coming out, all the new liveries, the 2018 cars. They all look beautiful at the moment. But today was the first day we didn't have one, and so I thought it was about time we did a little catch up on all the news in the world of Formula 1, Formula 2 and anything else in the world of motorsport. But without further ado, let's crack on with our little catch up. And the first news story is that the WEC has moved their race in Fuji, the Japanese race, just so Fernando Alonso can race in it. So if you didn't know, the Japanese WEC race was planned to take part the same weekend as the USA Grand Prix. Now, Toyota, who Alonso is racing for, own the track, and they have been the ones who have moved the track themselves so Alonso can race. Now, there's two sides you can look at this. It's either Toyota are thinking, yes, we want Alonso to race in every single WEC race this season, or they're looking at it as from the perspective that F1 fans are going to watch WEC this season. Okay, that's a given now. We've seen with the Indy 500 and Daytona that thousands and thousands of F1 fans have moved over to there for the first time, many people, for the Indy 500 especially, just because Fernando Alonso's in it. And so perhaps they moved this race, well, I'm sure this was something they took into consideration, because they're going to get so much more publicity. Half the people are going to be watching F1 if they do it at the same time. And so this way, everyone can watch the F1 and then everyone can watch the WEC. It's a very sensible move for that reason, but also Alonso, he's a world-class driver, isn't he? There's no denying that. He's one of the best in the biz, and really, it's a sensible move just to have you as one of your boys driving in your car for the season. But this move means that Alonso, just in 2018, is going to all 21 F1 races and all 6 rounds of the WEC. And he's also confirmed for 3 more rounds at the beginning of 2019, also in the WEC. So busy times for Fernando Alonso, but more than anything, he wants to be in the winning car, and to him, this is how he's going to do it. By entering the WEC, this is going to be a great chance. Obviously, McLaren going back with Renault this season is another fantastic chance, but it's going to be difficult for them to win the World Championship, which is what Alonso wants more than anything. So this move, it's an interesting one, definitely. What do you guys think? I think it's a good move for Alonso. I really do. And yes, a lot of his focus will be away from F1, but I think at the same time, people relax in different ways. You know, you see the likes of Hamilton, who got a lot of criticism for doing all his fashion things, his music festivals, going to different sports events with sports stars like Neymar, that sort of thing. He got a lot of criticism for that. And this is just Alonso's version of what Hamilton's doing. You know, some people like to spend it with family, Raikkonen, spend it at home back in Finland with the family. But some people, like Alonso, just want to drive. That's their passion, and they don't want to wait during the week. They don't want to wait 2 weekends until the next, 3 weekends until the next race. They want to be racing all the time. And I think for Fernando, this is a great move. I do not think it'll affect his Formula 1 at all. He's a world-class driver, and I think this is an overall positive move for Fernando, for the WEC. For F1, I don't think it has much repercussion at all. I really don't think it does. If anything, it might bring some WEC fans over to F1. I know obviously numbers, there's much more Formula 1 fans than WEC fans, but it's still possible, and it still could happen. So I think for all parties involved, this is a very good thing. Maybe not so much McLaren, because Alonso will now be seen as a McLaren and a Toyota driver. So McLaren is the only one really that won't be too happy with this, I imagine, but for all other parties, I think this is a pretty good move for Fernando. The next big story, which definitely wasn't covered as much as I thought it should be, and definitely has bigger implications than people are considering, is the fact that Robert Kubica is going to be doing 3 FP3 test sessions this season. Now, the naked eye, this just looks like, oh, well, everyone does a few FP3 seasons here and there, sessions even here and there. But what's special about this is that all three of the FP1 sessions, they're FP1, I've been saying FP3, haven't I? Woo! Oh, we'll leave it in now. Anyway, the FP1 sessions, all three of them, are at the beginning of the season, the first half of the season. 2 have been confirmed, Barcelona and Austria, and there will be 1 other. Now, obviously this is fantastic to see Kubica back in the car, and back in a fairly competitive car we imagine, but just in a car itself over an F1 weekend. That is fantastic for him and fantastic for all fans, I imagine, of the sport. And it'll be great for Williams as well to get a bit more promotion and notice from some newer fans. But what I think is quite interesting about this is the fact that they're all in the first half of the season. Now, you might already be understanding what I'm trying to get at here, and that is that maybe at the halfway point they're going to review the performances of Stroll and Sorokin, and maybe they'll do a little switcheroo. I've said about this when Sorokin was confirmed, I said about this in the driver lineup video, my predictions for Williams, and I think it's very, very possible that Kubica could be put in halfway through the season to replace Sorokin or Stroll. I think the same sort of thing could happen at Alfa Romeo as well. I think if Ericsson is not quite on par with what they predict and what they expect, I think Giovinazzi could easily go in that seat. So no one's safe this season by the looks of it, and I think this announcement of 3 FP1 sessions from Kubica is very, very naughty indeed. But at the end of the day, it's just great to see him in the sport anyway, and part of me hopes that he doesn't get this full-time seat, not because I don't like Kubica. He was my favourite driver at the time when he was at BMW Sauber. Used to love that guy, and even when he moved to Renault, still loved that guy, and I was gutted when he had his crash. My favourite F1 driver was gone, and it took me a while to find a new favourite driver, and I still don't really have one as such. But I think it's important for Williams to show the world they've made the right decision. To show the world that they know what they're doing. Sorokin, they saw him, he was a fantastic driver in their eyes, and they're going to prove it. Same with Lance Stroll. Is that going to be the case? We'll have to wait and see until March, but I think it could be the case. And like I say, I hope for the sake of Williams and the 2 boys, the 2 drivers, that is the case. And Robert, I wouldn't be disappointed if he came back whatsoever. But I just think for Williams as a team, they need to be shown as a strong team moving forward. And for them, they need to hope he's not quick. End of the day, bottom line, they just need to hope he's not quick. Because if Robert Kubica is quick, then they've got a big issue on their hands, haven't they? But then there's always the 2019 season. So who knows, who knows? That's another topic for the future. Our next discussion, something else very, very cheeky that came out, was the announcement from Liberty that they're introducing this new idea called Pirelli Hot Laps. And sounds like a ready meal, doesn't it? Pirelli Hot Laps. Maybe not. I feel it does. I feel like it sounds like a ready meal from Tesco sort of thing. Anyway, Pirelli Hot Laps. What they are is, say we're gonna put this in a real life situation here. The Bahrain Grand Prix has been announced for this. This is the first race where the Pirelli Hot Laps, that's a tongue twister, are going to be in use. And what it is that for 10 events in the season, so we're using Bahrain, while if you've never been to an F1 race, you'll know, well, you won't know this, but when you're actually there, there's quite a bit of time where there's nothing on track. So what you do instead is you're outside of the track, wandering around the little shop areas, the food stalls, that sort of thing. But for most of the time, there's nothing on the track. And Liberty want to sort of change this. They also want to increase fan participation on track where possible. And that's the idea of these hot laps, is where teams, so the 2 teams that have been announced so far is Aston Martin, Red Bull and McLaren, where they will have chance to show off their own road cars and supercars, and fans will be given the opportunity to be in those cars and to be driven by a professional racing driver. Very interesting I use that terminology because they haven't said F1 drivers, but they have announced some drivers, or subtly announced some drivers, I want to say. So the official statement is that they will allow spectators to be driven by a professional racing driver around the circuit. So just proving that's what they said. Doesn't say F1 driver now, does it? But it's still a great experience, isn't it? that would be fantastic to be driven around these circuits. So far what's been announced is the Aston Martin Vanquish, which will be in the Red Bull livery, I imagine. And they said you'll have the chance to be driven by Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo, both F1 drivers. That's fantastic there. And McLaren, their car will be the 720S, and they've named 4 drivers which might potentially be driving. And it doesn't include Jenson Button, but it includes Fernando Alonso and Stoffel van Dorn, which is fab, but also Lando Norris, which is great for him, obviously a rising talent now in Formula 2 and the reigning Formula 3 champion. But also, Mika Häkkinen. What? Where did that come from? Mika Häkkinen, the 1998 and 1999 world champion for McLaren. That's a great announcement. If they actually can make that happen, that is very, very cheeky indeed. Much love for Mika Häkkinen from me and from this channel, definitely. Love that guy, great guy. But I think this is a great thing that Liberty have added. It's another step forward. It's another innovation for the sport, something new, something that will get the younger fans even more interested than they already are. And Liberty Media, for me, are fantastic. And this is just another example of how they're going to push this sport to its max. So then, we move on to the big stories of this week. And no doubt, it's the launch of the new cars. All of them, absolute beauties. I can't deny. I'm going to do a little review, I think I've decided, at the end of all of it. Reviewing which are my favourite cars, least favourite cars. I have been doing a rating on all of them. I'm not going to spoil any of that at the moment. However, all of them aren't bad scores at all. There's only one which is a bit of a weak score. And that's just, well, I won't say even why. You'll have to find out yourselves. So check out each car or just wait for the review at the end. But here's a little showcase of some of them. All of them. A little bit different than normal, most of them, fantastic. You know, these cars are the same as last year mostly. We're missing the T-wing, we're missing the majority of the shark fin, but what a beautiful car. These new cars, these new spec of cars are so great, and this is going to be another year of hopefully top racing, and hopefully they'll have fixed some of those issues with the dirty air. Obviously we know that mostly they haven't, but I'm just hoping for a few changes here and there so it's slightly easier to pass, but we don't want to get our hopes up too much because that's really not going to take effect until they change the aero regs again, which could be in a few years down the line. However, I still predict great racing this season, just as we did last season. So if you didn't know, the 5 teams that have launched so far are Red Bull, Williams, Haas, Alfa Sauber, as I'm calling them, and Renault. So, we've still got half the grid to go. Force India still have not announced their date. Okay, so it wouldn't surprise me if it came out later today. So it might come up around time you watch this video. It might already have come out. This is the 21st of February. I think it could. It's the only day from Monday we had the first all the way to the first day of testing, which we have a significant gap in, which is today, and then we got a couple of days before the test, but I don't think they'll leave it that late. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I doubt they'll leave it that late. Obviously we've got the big boys coming up now in the terms of Mercedes, Ferrari and McLaren, big boys there. But Force India, it looks like they're going pink. They've chucked in a few hints here and there. Ocon showed his new shoe. His new shoe, which is pink, which suggests that it's going to be a pink livery. But it might just be the shoes are pink. Nah, because that'd look minging, wouldn't it? If the shoes were pink and the rest of it was a different colour. Can't think of it, like maybe red. Nah, I think it will stick with pink. Maybe some hints of blue or something in there, hints of purple. Or they might just keep it the same. BWT obviously were the ones who changed the colour of the Force India last year, and they just might want to keep it the same. So who knows for the Force India launch, but that is the cars so far. All of them beauties for the 2018 season, and if you want to know more about them, each individual video for each car will be linked down in the description, or you can just check on the channel, can't you? I'm sure you're perfectly able to do that, but I'll leave it in the description anyway just to save you a bit of time anyways. So then, not much else to talk about this week in the terms of the Formula 1. However, as you might already know, we don't just cover Formula 1 on the Formula Weekly, because we also cover Formula 2. Still, we don't have a full grid. It's taken its time, isn't it? We're getting there. We've got the car launches now of most of the teams, but we still do not have a full grid. But we do have confirmation that Russian time will be in the sport. I don't know why nowhere was showing up that they were going to be in it this season. Everywhere I researched seemed to believe they were not going to be. So obviously Formula 2 doesn't quite get the coverage of Formula 1, but that's a bit of a hiccup on quite a few of the media outlets. I'm looking at you, Autosport, you know, motorsport.com, not the best, but obviously if they didn't know, then no one's going to know, are they? But anyways, back to the goodiness, and we got some driver lineups confirmed. Nick Latifi will be back at Dams for a second season. Great driver, won in Silverstone, the young Canadian's the test driver at Force India, so I'm sure he'll be glad to do another season in Formula 2 there. Russian time will retain Artem Markelov, but not Luca Giotto. I mean, very surprised at that. Giotto has got a drive at Campos, but whether that was him deciding to jump ship or Russian time not keeping him is a different thing. The third and final driver, which has been announced, is Makino, who will be at Russian time as well alongside Artem Markelov. He is the Euro F3 reigning 15th place man. What? What? This is actually real as well. This ain't no BS. This guy, Makino, has gone to Russian time, the reigning F2 Constructors World Champions, and he got 15th in Euro F3. What? You look at his CV, it's dodgy. It's dodgy as. I mean, maybe they want to focus on just one driver. Maybe Makino is bringing the cash, the funds, but come on. 15th in Euro F3, and they're signing him to the arguably top team in F2. Nah, not a fan of that move. Sorry, Makino, but not a big fan of that one. And yeah, and just before we round up on that story, this is just a little bit after I recorded that there. Makino is actually a Honda youth driver, young development driver. That's why Makino's got the C. Masushita, obviously the other Honda young development driver in F2, has not been announced yet for a seat, so that might very well be why Makino is alongside Markelov at Russian time. And also, I forgot to mention actually, the boy Ollie Rowland has not got a seat yet. I love Ollie Rowland. I think he was my favourite driver in F2 last season. Maybe not as good as Charles Leclerc though on paper. Though I was rooting for him last season, mainly because he was the only one that could catch Leclerc, but didn't quite do it. He's still not been announced, but there is still that seat at Dams, and I'm pretty confident he will be there for the rest of the season. So guys, if you are new around here, this was F1 Weekly. The title suggests it's weekly, and it has been weekly, but like I say, I've been away, so this was a bit longer than it usually is, a bit more unorganised as such. I just want to get it out now. These usually come out on a Monday, so I'm even, what, so I'm 2 weeks and 2 days late. Fantastic. Great stuff. Well, I'm here now eventually, so there we go, haters gonna hate. But we're eventually here, we eventually made it, and that's the end of another week of the F1 news, or another 2 weeks. So anyway. If you are new around here, we do all sorts of F1 news, F1 banter. Oh, I need to stop saying F1 banter. That is off. That is old. That is old. F1 news, F1 gossip. Nah, F1 gossip's bad as well. We'll think of something else. But all sorts of F1 news, F2 news, and all news around the world of motorsport. If you're new around here, remember to like, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.